biggest legends around, and the mystique just continues to grow around Sasquatch, also known as Bigfoot. David George Gordon, a naturalist and author of the Sasquatch Seeker's Field Manual, is teaming up with the Humanities Washington to host a gathering of believers and skeptics alike. David joins us now. Thank you very much for being here. It's good to meet you.
Good to be here.
So give me a little education, because I've always heard about Bigfoot. How did this whole thing get started?
You know, it's interesting. If you look back at Native American legends, there's stories about wild people of the woods. And almost every tribe has a story like that.
Uniquely American, or do you mean globally?
Well, both. Northwest in particular, but then there are stories of similar creatures all over the world.
Loch Ness Monster, various
well,
things.
You know, the abominable snowman is kind of very similar. And actually, when the abominable snowman kind of hit the news, that was in the 1950s, all of a sudden people started focusing on, well, there's this thing out here in the Northwest as well. So that gained a lot of traction right with that.
So you follow this very closely, obviously. Are you a believer? Are you a skeptic? Are you agnostic?
I'm a fence sitter. I always say if I said it didn't exist and someone found one tomorrow, then I'd be wrong.
Right.
But I also would not go to court with the evidence that people have gathered so far.
So what do you think keeps this legend alive?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. One of them is, I think, kind of allegorically, we need some big gnarly thing to define our own humanity. We're not like that. We're like this.
We're like this. This is sort of the famous photo.
Yeah, that's from 1967, actually.
And so what do we think about this? What do we know and not know about this photo?
This is something that's been examined over and over again by scientists and naturalists and you name it. And no one is really in agreement as to whether this is real or a fake. It's something, it's one of the great mysteries 50 years later.
Honestly, I think that's sort of part of the fun of it, is that it is a mystery and that we don't know yet.
Well, you know, I think that's part of the popularity of Sasquatch. We like to think we know everything, and a lot of people out there, including myself, go, nah, we don't really know everything.
We
what
don't.
About this?
So you've written the Sasquatch Seeker's Field Manual, which is sitting right there. What is that all about? You
know, that's actually a book that's more about if you actually found evidence, a footprint, or broken branches, or even saw a Sasquatch, how to record it and write it down so that it's actually useful information.
Well, you have your cell phone now, so please don't just write it down.
That's right.
Take a picture if you see Sasquatch.
Make a recording of the sounds you hear. There are a lot of people out there, I call them the I seen 'ems. You know, I seen them, but they can't really tell you much more than that. So it's not really useful to science. If people are actually writing journal entries and things like that and, you know, documenting what they see, now we can start building up some evidence there.
Is there anybody who's been more credible than the others in your mind?
You know, I actually hate to say it, but I've seen a lot of people going way back in the 1990s who are, you know, were Sasquatch experts. They were not impressive to me. It's not Stephen Jay Gould or any of these, you know, high-line scientists. One of the big experts was a retired postal worker in Canada. So some of the evidence gathering has been sloppy.
Now, do we think, as you said, that picture was taken, the one that we sort of all associate in California?
Right.
I think of Sasquatch as being in the Northwest because, of course, he was at the Sonics game, so we know he was there.
Yeah.
and then there are reports out of Canada as well. Is that kind of the geographical area?
You know, I would say that the highest number of sightings actually come from Washington State and from British Columbia. And then going down, that's Northern California, Bluff Creek area. So that's kind of an extension of that range.
Sort of the Cascadia area.
Right.
Why do you think I mean, you touched on it, but what is it that it fulfills in us to want to believe in, or at least entertain the idea of a creature like this?
I think we really need a wild man of the woods. You know, we've tamed everything in our own minds, and we need something out there that's not affected by that isn't watching TV or surfing away on the internet.
God bless him.
Yeah, exactly. We want some wild spirit out there. A lot of the Native American stories, they say, might have been told as campfire tales to keep the kids in closer at night.
That's a good idea.
Don't go wandering out there.
Because you don't know what's out there.
But we like the idea that there's still some wilderness and some wildness. I totally support that.
Yeah, well, and also for me, just the unknown.
Yeah.
That we know we don't know everything. So what is it that's out there in the great unknown?
I have to tell you, I used to think that it was all about the Olympic Peninsula, but I've been doing a lot of these Humanities Washington talks in Eastern Washington. And when I give these talks, there's usually like 5 or 6 people in the audience who have firsthand experiences. that they've seen or heard or smelled a Sasquatch.
In Eastern
Eastern
Washington?
Washington. So
That's
the area around the
fascinating.
Palouse is really a great place to go
Yep.
searching for Sasquatch.
Might have been somebody who just visited one of their great taverns.
That's
and then,
right.
And then saw something. So you have an event on January 20th. What will that be like?
Oh, you know, it's actually a program that I give through Humanities Washington. I talk for about 40 minutes, and then I almost feel like Phil Donahue or something. I turn it over to the audience and ask them if they have questions or things they want to share. And for me, that's actually my favorite part. There are genuinely sincere people. Many of them are outdoors people who actually would know the difference between a bear and an elk and a Sasquatch if they saw one. And I get these really great testimonials, eyewitness testimonials from people.
I think that sounds so cool.
If you have a good story, come to the
event.
Library.
All right. Thank you very much. David's next Looking for Sasquatch event takes place Saturday, January 20th at Key Center Library in Lake Bay in conjunction with Humanities Washington. Full details will be on our website in case you'd like to go, and I hope you will, and report back if you find anything. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Still ahead, now is the time to snap up great deals on fabulous cruises. We're going to learn with AAA Travel after this quick break.
Yeah!